The smugness in Emily's voice made my skin crawl as she strutted into my office, her designer handbag swinging from her arm. Surprise, big sister. Dad's giving the business to me. After all, I have 3 kids to feed. She tossed a stack of papers onto my desk, scattering the quarterly reports I'd spent all morning reviewing. I looked up from my computer, keeping my expression neutral. 10 years of building this company from the ground up had taught me the value of staying calm under pressure. Check the ownership papers, I said quietly, opening my desk drawer. What ownership papers? Emily scoffed, shifting her weight to one hip. Dad owns everything. Always has. Actually, I pulled out a blue folder, its edges worn from the countless times I checked its contents over the years. You might want to take a look at these. My name is Sarah Anderson, and at 35, I'm the founder and CEO of Anderson Family Wines, though my sister seems to have forgotten the founder part. 10 years ago, when our family vineyard was on the verge of bankruptcy, I was the one who stepped in. I sold my condo in San Francisco, cashed out my 401k, and moved back home to save what was left of our family's legacy. Emily was too busy with college then, partying her way through a degree she never finished. I watched her now, nose wrinkled in confusion as she flipped through the documents. The moment she reached the ownership agreement, her perfectly maintained facade cracked. This can't be right, she stammered. It says you own 85% of the company. Funny how reading the fine print changes things, isn't it? I reached for my coffee mug, taking a slow sip. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my office, I could see the endless rows of grapevines stretching toward the horizon, vines I'd nursed back to health after years of neglect. Dad signed over majority ownership to me when I invested my life savings to save this place. He kept 15% as a silent partner, but everything else? That's mine. Emily's face flushed red. But that's not fair. I'm a mother now. I have responsibilities. And I have a business to run, I replied, standing up. The same business I built while you were posting Instagram stories from Cabo. The transformation had been nothing short of miraculous. When I returned home a decade ago, Anderson Family Wines was producing barely enough to keep the lights on. The equipment was outdated, the vines were diseased, and our reputation in the valley had hit rock bottom. Dad was drowning in debt, too proud to admit he needed help until the bank threatened foreclosure. I still remember the night he finally broke down and told me the truth. I'd driven up from San Francisco for our monthly family dinner, and he waited until Emily had left early, something about a party she couldn't miss, before confessing how bad things had gotten. The bank's given us 30 days, he'd said, his voice breaking. If we can't make the payment, we'll lose everything. The land, the winery, all of it. He looked smaller somehow, sitting in his favorite armchair, the one Mom used to curl up in to read before cancer took her. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I know how much this place means to you. I didn't hesitate. The next day, I walked in my boss's office and handed in my resignation. Within a week, I'd sold my condo and liquidated every investment I had. The numbers barely added up, but I was determined to save our family's legacy. Emily hadn't even bothered to come home when I told her what was happening. That's like super stressful, she'd said over the phone. But I've got finals coming up, and Jeremy's taking me to Cancun after. I'm sure you and Dad will figure something out. And figure it out we did. I worked 18-hour days, learning everything I could about modern winemaking. I hired experts to treat the diseased vines, invested in new equipment, and slowly rebuilt our reputation. Every penny of profit went back into the business. While Emily posted photos of her lavish wedding to a real estate developer, I was up at dawn, walking the rows of vines, checking each cluster of grapes for signs of trouble. Now, standing in my office facing my sister's entitled rage, I felt a strange sense of calm. Emily, I said, keeping my voice level. What exactly did Dad tell you? She crossed her arms, her bottom lip trembling slightly. He said he was thinking about retirement and that it was time for the next generation to take over. He knows Jeremy and I need the income, especially with a new baby coming. Ah, there it was. Emily's third pregnancy announcement had come with the usual fanfare, a professional photo shoot, a gender reveal party that nearly set the neighbor's house on fire, and endless social media posts about the challenges of being a mompreneur despite never having worked a day in her life. Did Dad show you any actual paperwork? I asked, already knowing the answer. Or did you just assume? He said he'd handle everything, she admitted, her confidence wavering. But it's not fair. You're single. You don't have a family to support. All you do is work. I felt a flash of anger but pushed it down. All I do is work. I walked to the window, gesturing at the thriving vineyard below. You mean all I do is run the company that employs 30 people, produces award-winning wines, and generates enough profit to pay for your children's private school tuition? Emily's face reddened further. That's different. Dad's been helping with the kids' education. It has nothing to do with the business. Where do you think that money comes from? I turned back to face her. Those quarterly payments for the kids' school. They come from my share of the profits. I agreed to it because they're my nieces and nephew, and I want them to have the best education possible. But make no mistake, that's my choice, not my obligation. A knock at the door interrupted us. Maria, our tasting room manager, poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, Ms. Anderson, but the potential distributors from Chicago are here for their tour. Thank you, Maria. I'll be right there. I gathered my tablet and the quarterly reports Emily had scattered. You can show yourself out, Emily, and if you'd like to discuss this further, I suggest you bring a lawyer. Though I should warn you, the ownership agreement is ironclad. You can't do this to me. Emily's voice rose to a shriek. I'm telling Dad. I paused at the door. Go ahead. Ask him about the day he signed over majority ownership. Ask him about the conditions of that transfer, including the clause that prevents him from selling or transferring his remaining shares without my written approval. I smiled, though there was no warmth in it. And while you're at it, ask him who's been running this place for the past decade while you've been busy building your perfect Instagram life. As I walked down the hallway toward the tasting room, I heard Emily's frustrated scream, followed by the sound of something, probably my coffee mug, shattering against the wall. Maria appeared at my side, her expression concerned. Should I call security? She asked quietly. I shook my head. No need. She'll leave once she runs out of things to break. I straightened my blazer and put on my professional smile. Now tell me about these distributors from Chicago. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings, wine tastings, and production reviews. I just finished approving the label design for our new Reserve Cabernet when my phone buzzed with a text from Dad. Emily's here, crying about ownership papers. We need to talk. I sighed, looking at the time. Nearly 7 p.m., and I still had a stack of contracts to review. On my way, I typed back. This conversation was long overdue. The sun was setting as I drove the familiar road to my childhood home, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold that reminded me of our rosé. The house looked smaller somehow, though nothing had really changed. The same creaky porch steps, the same wind chimes Mom had loved so much, the same ancient oak tree where Emily and I had played as kids. Dad was waiting in the kitchen, a glass of our latest vintage in his hand. Emily sat at the table, her mascara smeared, clutching one of Mom's old teacups. Sit down, Sarah, Dad said, his voice heavy. We need to sort this out. I remained standing. There's nothing to sort out, Dad. The ownership agreement is clear. But it's not fair, Emily interjected. I'm family too. Family? I couldn't help but laugh. Where was your sense of family when the bank was threatening foreclosure? Where were you when I was working every holiday, every weekend, trying to save this place? I had my own life, she protested. I was in college, and I had a successful career in San Francisco. I shot back. But I gave it up because this place meant something to me, because Mom's legacy meant something to me. Dad flinched at the mention of Mom. She'd been the heart of Anderson Family Wines, the one who insisted on using sustainable farming practices long before it was trendy. The one who taught me to love the land, to respect the delicate balance of nature that went into every bottle we produced. Your mother would want us to work this out, Dad said quietly. Mom would want us to be honest. I corrected him. So let's be honest, Dad. Did you promise Emily the business? He shifted uncomfortably. I may have suggested that when I retire, the next generation should take over. The next generation already has taken over, I said firmly. I've been running this place for 10 years. Everything we have now, the new production facility, the tasting room, our distribution deals. I built that. Not you, not Emily, me. But I'm your sister, Emily wailed. And my children are your family. Yes, they are, I agreed. Which is why I've never complained about the money that goes to their education. Why I bought them savings bonds every birthday, why I set up college funds they don't even know about yet. I turned to Dad. But I won't let you give away what I've built, not even to family. The kitchen fell silent except for Emily's quiet sobs. Dad looked older suddenly, the weight of his mistakes visible in the slump of his shoulders. I never meant to cause trouble, he said finally. Emily and the kids needed help, and I thought. You thought you could promise her something that wasn't yours to give. I finished for him. Just like you thought you could run this place into the ground before finally admitting you needed help. He winced but didn't argue. The truth was there in black and white in the ownership papers Emily had thrown across my desk that morning. So what now? Emily asked, her voice small. You're just going to cut us off. I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and felt a mixture of pity and frustration. She'd always been Dad's favorite. The pretty one, the social one, the one who got away with everything while I was labeled the responsible one. The reliable one, the one who would understand. No, I said finally. I'm not cutting anyone off. The kids' education funds will continue. Dad's retirement benefits are secure. But understand this, Anderson Family Wines is my company now. I built it, I run it, and I own it. If you want to be part of it, Emily, you're welcome to submit a job application like anyone else. Start at the bottom, learn the business, prove your worth. A job application. She sputtered. Like some employee. That's exactly right. I headed for the door, pausing to look back at them. Oh, and Emily, you owe me a new coffee mug. The next morning, I arrived at the winery before dawn, as I had every day for the past decade. The fog still clung to the valleys between the vine rows, and the air was crisp with an early autumn chill. But something was different. A crowd had gathered outside the main entrance, employees huddled in small groups, whispering among themselves. Maria rushed to meet me as I parked my car. Ms. Anderson, you need to see this. She handed me her phone, opened to Emily's Instagram page. My sister had been busy overnight, posting a lengthy expose about how I had stolen the family business, complete with carefully edited photos from our childhood designed to paint her as the devoted daughter and me as the cold, calculating outsider. Such a sad day, her post read. Finding out your own sister manipulated your elderly father into signing away his life's work while he was grieving Mom's death. Money and power really do change people. Please pray for our family during this difficult time. #family betrayal, #toxic sisters, #pray for us. I handed the phone back to Maria, my expression unchanged. Have the marketing team monitor our social media channels. Any negative comments should be screenshotted and archived, then deleted. No responses from our end. Already on it, Maria nodded. But there's more. Your sister's husband, Jeremy, is in the tasting room with 2 men in suits. They're demanding to see our financial records. Of course they were. Jeremy had always fancied himself a business mogul, despite his real estate empire consisting mainly of failed condo developments and foreclosed properties. Are they claiming any legal authority? They mentioned something about representing minority shareholder interests. I smiled. Emily and Jeremy had overplayed their hand. Call security. Have them escort the gentleman out. Then contact our lawyers. They'll want to know about this attempted unauthorized access to company records. As I walked through the crowd of employees, I made sure to meet each person's eyes, nodding reassuringly. These people weren't just workers, they were family in all the ways that mattered. Many had been here since the beginning, watching me transform their struggling workplace into something we could all be proud of. Everything's fine, I announced clearly. Back to work, please. We have a harvest to prepare for. In my office, I found another surprise. Dad sat in one of the visitor chairs, looking like he hadn't slept. We need to talk, Sarah. About Emily's social media campaign, or about Jeremy's attempt to intimidate my staff. He winced. I tried to stop her. She wouldn't listen. She and Jeremy, they're convinced you tricked me somehow, that the ownership agreement isn't valid. I sat down at my desk, the same desk where Mom used to do the books by hand before cancer took her. Did you tell them about the day you signed the papers? About how the bank was ready to take everything? I tried, he sighed, but Emily only hears what she wants to hear. She's always been. Spoiled? I finished for him, entitled, protected from consequences. I wonder whose fault that is. Before he could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from our head winemaker. Channel 7 news van just pulled up at the gate. Reporter asking about family dispute at historic winery. Perfect. Emily had really outdone herself this time. Dad, I said, my voice firm. You need to leave. Now, and on your way out, don't talk to any reporters. Don't post anything online. Don't make any statements. But they're asking for comments, the local paper called this morning. And that's exactly what Emily wants. She's creating a spectacle, trying to pressure us into giving her what she wants. But here's what's going to happen instead. I pulled out another folder, this one red, and placed it on the desk between us. These are the documents showing exactly how much money we've given Emily and Jeremy over the years. Private school tuition, down payments on their houses, bailouts for Jeremy's failed investments, all of it carefully documented, all of it coming from my share of the profits. Dad's face paled as he looked at the numbers. I had no idea it was this much. Of course you didn't, because every time they needed money, they came to you first, knowing you'd pressure me to help family. And I did help, even though I knew Jeremy was gambling most of it away on risky investments. How did you know about the gambling? I leaned back in my chair. I'm a businesswoman, Dad. I do my due diligence. I know about the loans Jeremy took out against their house. I know about the credit card debt. I know about the offshore accounts he thinks no one can trace. A commotion outside drew our attention. Through the window, I could see Emily marching across the parking lot, camera crew in tow. She was wearing black, as if in mourning, her face set in a perfect mask of family tragedy. She's going to destroy everything, Dad whispered. No, I said calmly, reaching for my phone. She's going to learn that actions have consequences. I pressed a button on my desk, activating the office intercom. Maria, please implement Protocol F. We had prepared for something like this, though I'd hoped it wouldn't be necessary. Within moments, the sprinkler system across the entire property activated, sending Emily and the news crew scrambling for cover. By the time they regrouped, security had locked down all entrances to the building. Sarah, please, Dad pleaded. There must be a way to work this out as a family. We're long past that, Dad. I turned my computer monitor so he could see it. Look familiar? On the screen was a video from 15 years ago, security footage from the winery's old camera system. It showed a younger Emily and Jeremy sneaking into the storage room late at night, replacing bottles of our premium reserve with cheap wine. That was just a prank, Dad protested weakly. A prank that cost us 3 major restaurant contracts and nearly ruined our reputation. I found this footage when I was upgrading our security system. But I kept it private, for family. I clicked to another file, just like I kept quiet about this one. The next document was a bank statement showing unauthorized transfers from the company account to Jeremy's personal account, transfers made using Dad's login credentials. Emily swore they were just borrowing it, Dad said. They paid it back, only because I caught it and threatened to go to the police. I closed the laptop. I've spent years protecting them from the consequences of their actions. That stops today. My phone buzzed again, Maria letting me know that our lawyers had arrived. Through the window, I could see Emily giving a tearful interview in the parking lot, gesturing dramatically at the building. What are you going to do? Dad asked. I'm going to protect what I built. I stood up, straightening my jacket. Emily and Jeremy have until the end of the day to retract their social media posts and issue a public apology. If they don't, our lawyers will file lawsuits for defamation, harassment, and attempted corporate espionage. We'll also freeze all financial support. No more tuition payments, no more bailouts. And the kids? Their college funds are secure in a trust they can't touch. I'm not punishing my nieces and nephew for their parents' actions. I walked to the door, holding it open. Now please leave, Dad, and remind Emily that if she wants a public fight, I have a lot more evidence she won't want made public. As I watched him walk away, shoulders slumped in defeat, I felt a mixture of sadness and resolve. Sometimes protecting a legacy meant making hard choices. Mom had taught me that. I picked up my phone and dialed our PR firm. It was time to release our own statement, one backed by facts, documentation, and the truth Emily had spent years trying to hide. The war she'd started would end today, one way or another. And this time, I wouldn't be the only one facing consequences. By sunset, Emily's media circus had transformed into something she hadn't anticipated. Our PR team released a simple but devastating statement, accompanied by years of financial records showing exactly how much support she and Jeremy had received from the company. The local news, eager for a juicier story, quickly shifted their narrative from heartless sister steals family business to entitled couple attempts hostile takeover after years of financial support. I watched from my office as the last news van pulled away. Maria appeared in the doorway, tablet in hand. Emily's posts are coming down. All of them. How's social media looking? The tide turned about an hour ago. People are sharing stories about working with you, about how you saved their jobs when you took over. The local community is rallying behind us. She smiled. Mrs. Rodriguez from the packaging line posted a video about how you paid for her daughter's emergency surgery last year. I remembered that day clearly. Gloria Rodriguez had worked for us for 8 years, never missing a day. When her daughter needed unexpected heart surgery, I didn't hesitate to help. It wasn't about business, it was about doing what was right. Any word from Emily or Jeremy? Maria's expression tightened. Jeremy's lawyer called. They want to negotiate. Of course they did. The evidence we'd released wasn't just embarrassing, it was damaging. Jeremy's real estate clients might not appreciate learning how he'd mishandled funds or how many times he'd been quietly bailed out of failed investments. My phone buzzed with a text from Dad. They're at the house. Please come, we need to fix this. I considered ignoring it, but something in the message's simplicity made me pause. Hold my calls, I told Maria. I'll be back in an hour. The drive to my childhood home felt different this time. The anger had faded, replaced by a calm certainty. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed Jeremy's expensive SUV was missing. Just Dad's old truck and Emily's car remained. Emily opened the door before I could knock. Her mascara was smeared again, but this time there was real fear in her eyes. Jeremy's gone, she said quietly. I followed her into the kitchen. Dad sat at the table, looking older than I'd ever seen him. An open laptop displayed Jeremy's latest email, a cold, legal-toned message about pursuing separate paths and reevaluating priorities. He emptied our accounts, Emily whispered. All of them, even the kids' Christmas fund. I sat down, letting the information sink in. Part of me wanted to say, I told you so, to remind her of all the times I'd warned her about Jeremy's schemes. But the defeated look on her face stopped me. When? This morning after, she swallowed hard. After your lawyers sent that package, the one with all the evidence. He said he had to protect his interests before everything came out. Dad reached for her hand. We'll figure something out, sweetheart. Maybe if we sell my shares. You can't sell what you can't access, I interrupted. And even if you could, it wouldn't cover what Jeremy's taken. Emily looked up sharply. What do you mean? I pulled out my phone, opening a secure folder. Jeremy's been planning this for months. Those business trips to Miami? He was setting up accounts. The new clients he claimed to be meeting. Shell companies, all leading back to an offshore account in the Caymans. How do you know all this? Dad asked. Because unlike you two, I've never trusted him. I've had people watching his movements, tracking his transactions. I knew this day would come. I just didn't expect him to use my own sister as his unwitting accomplice. Emily's face crumpled. I thought he loved me. He loved what you represented, I said gently. Access to a successful family business, parents willing to bail him out of every bad decision. A wife so eager to believe in him that she turned against her own sister. The kitchen fell silent except for Emily's quiet sobs. Through the window, I could see the old treehouse Dad had built us when we were kids. Emily had fallen while climbing up one day, and I'd carried her to the house, my own knees scraped and bleeding from the rescue. I've lost everything, Emily whispered. The house, the kids' school. What am I going to do? I thought about Mom then, about what she would do in a situation. She'd always believed in second chances, in the power of redemption, but she'd also believed in earning those chances. The kids' education is secure, I said finally. I moved their tuition payments into a protected trust 6 months ago, when I first noticed Jeremy's suspicious activities. They won't have to change schools. Emily's head snapped up. You did. I also froze several accounts Jeremy tried to access this morning. About $300,000, give or take. Technically, it's evidence of attempted fraud, but what? Dad leaned forward. But if Jeremy signs a confession and agrees to stay away from the business and the family, That money could help Emily make a fresh start. A modest house, maybe. Something she can actually afford on a normal salary. Normal salary? Emily's voice quavered. The tasting room needs a new assistant manager. Maria's been asking to promote someone from within, but I met my sister's eyes. The job requires showing up on time, learning the wines, actually working. No social media during business hours, no special treatment. You'd start at entry-level pay like everyone else. Emily was quiet for a long moment. You'd really give me a job. After everything? No, I corrected her. I'm giving you an opportunity. Whether you turn it into something meaningful is up to you. Dad cleared his throat. And what about my shares? Those will be held in trust for the kids. When they're old enough, if they're interested in the business, they can earn their way in. The right way. I stood up, smoothing my skirt. You have 24 hours to decide, Emily. If you want the job, be at the winery at 7 a.m. sharp. Maria will show you the ropes. If not, I shrugged. I hear Jeremy has a lovely view of the beach from his new Miami condo. As I turned to leave, Emily's voice stopped me. Sarah, I'm sorry for everything. I looked back at my little sister, really looked at her. Behind the designer clothes and carefully curated image, I saw something I hadn't seen in years. The real Emily, the one who used to climb trees with me, who cried when I left for college, who once had dreams of her own before Jeremy convinced her that being his wife was enough. I know, I said softly. But this time, show me with actions, not words. Walking out to my car, I felt lighter somehow. The setting sun painted the vineyard in shades of gold, reminding me of all those evenings Mom and I had spent walking the rows together, talking about the future. You'll understand someday, she told me once, that true strength isn't about being the most powerful person in the room. It's about knowing when to use that power and when to offer grace instead. As I drove back to the winery, my phone buzzed with a message from Maria. Emily just called. Asked about proper attire for work tomorrow. I smiled, remembering Mom's words. Sometimes the hardest battles end not with a knockout blow, but with a chance at redemption. Now it was up to Emily to take that chance and make something of it. 6 months later, I stood in the cellar of Anderson family wines, surrounded by oak barrels and the rich aroma of aging wine. The harvest had been exceptional this year, possibly our best yet, but that wasn't why I was smiling. And this, I heard Emily's voice echo from the stairs, is where we age our reserve wines. Each barrel is French oak, carefully selected to complement the specific characteristics of our grapes. She appeared around the corner, leading a group of tourists. She wore the company polo shirt now, her designer clothes relegated to the closet in her new, modest rental house. Her hair was pulled back practically, and she carried a tablet with detailed wine notes, meticulously researched and entirely her own. The transformation hadn't been easy. That first week, she'd shown up late twice and nearly quit when a customer berated her over a wine club mishap. But something had changed in Emily since Jeremy's betrayal. Perhaps it was the humility of starting over, or maybe it was finally seeing the business through clear eyes. Sarah, she startled upon seeing me. I mean, Ms. Anderson, I didn't realize you were down here. Carry on, I gestured. You're doing fine. I watched as she expertly guided the group through a barrel tasting, explaining the aging process with genuine enthusiasm. When the tourists left, practically fighting over who could buy more wine, Emily's smile was real, not the practiced one she used to wear for Instagram photos. They joined the wine club, she said proudly. All of them. I saw. Good work. She hesitated, clutching her tablet. The kids asked about you yesterday. They missed their Aunt Sarah. It had been my choice to keep some distance these past months, letting Emily stand on her own feet. The children still received their birthday presents from me, their college funds continued to grow, but I'd stepped back from regular family dinners and weekend visits. Bring them by the house on Sunday, I said after a moment. We'll have lunch by the pool. Her eyes lit up, then turned serious. I've been meaning to tell you. I've been taking online business classes at night. Real ones, not like. She trailed off, but I knew she was thinking of her unfinished degree. Maria's been helping me understand the financial reports. I know. She keeps me updated on your progress. Emily looked down at her sensible shoes, a far cry from her former designer heels. Jeremy called last week. He's in trouble in Miami. Wanted to know if I could. She took a deep breath. I told him no. Told him not to contact me again except through the divorce lawyers. Good, I said simply. The thing is, she continued, I finally understand what you were trying to tell me all these years. About working for something, about earning your place. She gestured at the rows of barrels. This place isn't just about making wine. It's about legacy. Mom's legacy. I felt a familiar tightness in my throat at the mention of Mom. She would be proud of you, you know. Not of what happened before, but of what you're doing now. She'd be prouder of you, Emily said softly. You saved this place. You gave me a second chance when I didn't deserve one. You're earning that chance, I reminded her. Every day. Later that evening, I sat in my office reviewing the latest production reports. Dad had stopped by earlier, dropping off an old photo album he found while cleaning out the attic. Inside were pictures of Mom teaching me about wine, about business, about life. In one photo, a young Emily sat on my shoulders, both of us laughing among the vines. My phone buzzed with a message from Maria. Emily stayed late to help the evening shift when Tom called in sick. She's really getting it. I smiled, thinking about those old photos. Mom had always said that true success wasn't about what you owned but what you built. Not just buildings and businesses, but relationships, trust, and character. Opening my desk drawer, I pulled out that blue folder, the one containing the ownership papers that had started this whole saga. Beneath them lay a new document, one I'd been considering for weeks. A plan for long-term succession, with provisions for gradual earning of shares based on years of service, dedication, and proven capability. Emily's name was on it, along with space for future additions. Perhaps her children, if they showed the same commitment she was beginning to display. Not a gift, but a possibility. A chance to earn something real. I signed the papers and locked them away. There would be time to discuss it later, after Emily had truly proven herself. For now, it was enough to know that Anderson Family Wines would continue, stronger for having weathered this storm. Outside my window, the sunset painted the vineyard in familiar shades of gold. Somewhere out there, Mom's spirit lived on in every vine, every bottle, every lesson learned the hard way. In saving our family's legacy, I discovered something more valuable than ownership. The power to shape not just the business, but the people who would carry it forward. I reached for my keys, ready to head home. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and new opportunities for growth. But for the first time in years, I was certain that our family, scared but healing, changed but stronger, would face them together.